We have an update from the European Parliament. So they've scrapped a €1,000 limit on cryptocurrency payments from self-hosted wallets as part of the new anti-money laundering laws. So David, we've been discussing the proposed regulation here for some time. And obviously there's a lot of mixed responses to the EU's regulatory measures and a lot of discussions and reporting taking place. Where do you stand and what are the impacts of these rules?
Yeah, so this is one example of the cryptosphere misreporting and everyone getting up in arms over something that wasn't even true. So initially, like even big news sites went out with the wrong information. Months ago, they did originally propose to bring in laws on self-custody wallets, MetaMask wallets, for example. But that was scrapped in the final version. And so now what the final version will say, and it won't come in even until next year, is it only covers, crypto exchanges and crypto asset service providers. It just implements the travel rule, which is the rule that says that if there is a transfer of funds, the sender, the receiver, the amount need to be known. When you're dealing with an exchange, everyone already has to be KYC'd, their identity is already verified. So there really isn't much of a change from the perspective of someone who just wants to buy or sell crypto. What they originally proposed would have gone much, much further. This is really just consistent with what the anti-money laundering laws already say and already do in TradFi, with banks and so forth. Yeah, the sirens definitely went off in the cryptosphere, especially on crypto Twitter, but what they ended up with isn't as severe as what people thought.
I think I need to maybe understand a little bit more. Well, how are they putting a limit? Are they talking about a limit from being able to transfer from a centralized exchange to a self-custody wallet? Because you can't, they could put limits there, right? Because the exchanges have that capability of asking you, like, I don't know if anybody's ever used centralized exchanges, but SwiftX is one that I can think of, and it asks you the type of wallet and where you're transferring it, and then they have the ability to say, "No, we're not going to transfer your money to that wallet." So they could stop it there, but once it's in a self-custody wallet, how are they going to put limits on a self-custody wallet? Like, that's the whole purpose of self-custody is not having censorship put onto what we can and cannot do with our own money. So I can only see them being able to stop the on-ramp through centralized exchanges. But then you could just do, okay, well, I'm just going to do $400 or $500 payments, and then once I've got it into my self-custody wallet, then you guys can't tell me what to do with my money.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of why that got scrapped as well. I mean, just in terms of enforcement, that would be impossible to actually execute. I mean, the only way it would work is when they somehow manage to link a self-custody wallet to an identified person. Then they can say, well, okay, you're not supposed to send this much from that wallet. But that's just, it almost defeats the purpose, right? Like, I mean, if you can identify them, or like you can just create a new self-custody wallet, like it just wouldn't work. So I think that's part of why they would have scrapped that.
And it would cost a lot of money in auditing. What are you going to do? Pay somebody there to, do reports and track down self-custody wallets that have done transactions over $1,000 to then find out, okay, well, now let's go and find out who actually owns that wallet so we can chase them up. It just seems like a waste of money that would be, being spent on trying to audit people doing transactions over $1,000. But they did try. I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago in Canada when the truckers were on strike and the Canadian government tried to get MetaMask to stop the transactions from the RPC level. And but what I think that they need to realize, okay, well, great, you could shut down that from MetaMask, but if I've got my private keys, then there's like 15 other wallets that I can use. So I think that they quickly realized that, oh, okay, we would have to get every single decentralized wallet application to block every single address simultaneously to stop these people from being able to receive funds.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's like trying to stop crypto in general. Like, I think they've all realized it's impossible. I mean, you'd have to shut off the internet, right? So, and doing something like this, is equally as impossible. I mean, there's no limit to the number of wallets one person can set up. Like one person could have
Mm.
3,000 wallets if they took the time to set them up. So yeah, it's they've reined it in a bit. So they've realized that it's just it'd be impossible to enforce this type of rule anyway. And the most sensible approach is to get the exchanges to do some of the work, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And enforcement is going to be an interesting issue because, Danielle, what you mentioned just then is similar to what we discussed last week on NFTs, because we were talking about how it might be hard to enforce. Like an NFT collection can infringe copyright, but the problem is how do you take it down? And it's a similar story where you can't stop. It's on the blockchain. You can't get rid of it. You can't stop people transacting on it. But one approach people have taken is to just try and get OpenSea or at least some of the other bigger NFT exchanges to take it down. And that's about as far as can take it, because people can still, they can always transact privately. They can always use another NFT exchange that's hasn't been issued with a DMCA or anything like that, or one that maybe decides to ignore DMCAs. But outside of that, that's about the most you can do. And I think if this becomes more of a thing, enforcement in the blockchain space legally is going to be a pretty interesting topic.
Well, I think the main problem is, from my perspective, is that these people that are trying to make, implement certain types of rules or regulation, and I'm going to use Apple as a really kind of good example. I don't know if you guys remember when they were like, we want 30% of the network fees. And we're all like, how can you do that? You clearly don't understand the Ethereum protocol. So I feel like these whoever is sitting around these big round tables of these companies or, regulation bodies, they don't understand the technology, and they're just saying, okay, well, this is what we want. These are the rules that we want to have, but they don't actually understand it on a deep enough level on how the technology works that it's not possible what they're asking.